The magical cryo-capsule of nature has the astonishing ability to preserve ancient wonders, and it's worth exploring this frozen world to discover something absolutely breathtaking. We will unveil 20 astounding enigmas hidden in the ice that continue to amaze and inspire us to this day. Watch until the end. I promise it will be incredibly fascinating. Welcome to the Top Facts channel, and enjoy your viewing. In the depths of the Svalbard archipelago, far from Norway, buried under eternal permafrost and mountains, lies the frozen Vault of Life. Established in 2008, this global seed vault was designed to preserve productive crops from around the world in case of a global agricultural catastrophe. The vast underground chambers house over 1 million seed samples representing more than 6,000 plant species from across the planet. These seeds are preserved at a temperature of 4 degrees Fahrenheit, under conditions that ensure their long-term viability. The goal of the vault is to prevent the irreversible consequences of biological disasters and create what is called a backup of the currently existing agricultural crops. If natural disasters occur, climate changes lead to the disappearance of entire species. The seeds from the vault could help in their regeneration. This is a wonderful example of human foresight and our commitment to preserving biodiversity, as well as our vital resource to ensure food security for future generations. Trapped within the icy trap, there are numerous microscopic bubbles, a time capsule where the Earth's atmosphere is found as it was thousands of years ago. These bubbles are most commonly found in the heart of icebergs drifting from Antarctica and Greenland, and they represent a treasure trove of information about the planet's climate history. Within each bubble is a sample of the atmosphere from that time when the air became trapped in the captured ice. By analyzing its composition, scientists can determine the scale of greenhouse gas formation. For example, the content of carbon dioxide and methane allows for the reconstruction of the atmosphere's composition and the climate of that era. This is a kind of weather report with hundreds of thousands of years of age. Periods of warming and cooling can be identified, helping to support theories about climate change over millions of years. And predictions about the development of the climate crisis initiated by humans can also be formulated. This lake, buried under a thick Antarctic ice sheet at a depth of 2,600 feet, used to be considered a dead zone. But in 2013, scientists managed to drill through the ice sheet and discovered a thriving colony of microorganisms. The discovery of viable organisms in such extreme conditions has expanded our understanding of the boundaries between life and death. These microbes survived in absolute darkness, freezing temperatures, and high pressure. They survived by obtaining energy from mineral-rich rocks. This discovery suggests the prospect that life may exist everywhere in the universe, where there are planets with similar harsh climatic conditions. Deep beneath the ice of Antarctica lies a hidden treasure untouched for millions of years, Lake Vostok, buried under approximately 4 kilometers of ice. It is one of the largest subglacial lakes in the world. The discovery of the lake in the 1990s was a milestone in polar research, despite it being one of the coldest places on Earth. The lake does not freeze due to the pressure of the massive ice sheet above it and the heat provided by the Earth's core, the hottest furnace on the planet. This lake has remained sealed for a period ranging from 15 to 25 million years. Just think about it. And its contents are equivalent to nature on another planet. It would be the most tantalizing piece for all scientists if they had the opportunity to fully explore it. If there are living organisms in the lake, they would have had to adapt to an extremely cold environment, complete darkness, and immense pressure. It closely resembles an analog of extraterrestrial environments, such as the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn. The expeditions to collect samples had to prevent contamination of this pristine ecosystem from the outside. The microbes inhabiting the lake's environment were remarkably resilient to life in the most inhospitable conditions. Thus, Lake Vostok is not just a frozen enigma, but a potential guide in our exploration of life on Earth and beneath it. Glaciers are wonderful deep freezers that can also preserve ancient forms of life, such as bacteria and microorganisms. These microorganisms can survive in icy preservation for hundreds, thousands, and even millions of years. Unpacking these life forms allows us to track the resilience and adaptability of all living organisms on the planet. Some of these microbes have been successfully regenerated in laboratories, leading to speculations about the presence of life in other icy worlds of the universe, such as Mars or Jupiter's moon Europa. So frozen bacteria are not only samples of terrestrial life, but potential conduits to the discovery of extraterrestrial forms. The icy expanses of the planet, particularly the permafrost, grant us access to a frozen archive of biological history that preserves organisms that have disappeared from the world. In this icy repository, scientists have discovered ancient viruses, some of which are older than the entirety of humanity. Prehistoric viruses preserved in ice for thousands and even millions of years differ from any existing viruses today. Scientists have been granted a unique perspective to study the evolution of viruses and potentially gain valuable knowledge about their interactions with their hosts. In 2014, French researchers revived the Siberian pedovirus, also known as the zombie virus, which is 30,000 years old. This giant virus, discovered in the expanses of Siberia and thus named, surpasses all modern viruses in size, and it remains active against amoebas, although harmless to humans. This discovery emphasizes that frozen viruses have the potential for activity. They could suddenly re-emerge in the modern world, especially as the climate changes and glaciers melt. In other words, frozen viruses are not just remnants of our planet's past, but potential participants in its future, posing challenges to both human health and scientific research. By exploring the ice, we discover remains of megafauna from millennia past, but we also find a large number of flora specimens in the ice chambers, plants from the Pleistocene period, an era that began approximately 2.5 million years ago and ended about 12,000 years ago. Here is one of the discoveries made in 2012. Russian scientists found flowers of a plant known as Silene stenophylla, or Smolevka uzkolistaya, which grows in Siberia in an ice cube. These flowers, with an age of at least 32,000 years, were found in a squirrel burrow from the glacial period, preserved in permafrost in a state of absolute freshness. Scientists managed to successfully cultivate plants from cells, thus obtaining the oldest regenerated plant material ever on the planet. And they turned out to be predictably similar to their modern counterparts, undergoing only minimal evolution over tens of thousands of years. This discovery highlights the incredible resilience of plants in extreme conditions and serves as a valuable repository of information about prehistoric flora samples. Additionally, it sheds light on the impact of climate change on the evolution of the plant world. Under the layer of ice and snow on the white plains of the Arctic lies an ecosystem that once flourished here. This discovery was made on Ellesmere Island in Canada, where fossilized forest remnants were found beneath the ice. What a striking contrast to the icy and barren desert that the Arctic is today. These ancient tree trunks and leaves belong to a forest that grew between 3 and 5 million years ago, when the Arctic was much warmer than it is now. The forest consisted of extensive mosses and various species of flora typical of a warmer climate. This forest is like a window into the times when the Arctic was a brightly green plain. Yes, believe it, that's how it was. The forest frog that inhabits Alaska has always intrigued biologists due to its ability to survive completely frozen. During the cold winter, when the temperature is always well below freezing, these frogs enter a state of slowed action. Their hearts stop beating and ice forms in their bodies. In that state, they survive for weeks. When the temperature rises, the frog thaws, its heart starts beating again, and it jumps as if nothing happened. This unique ability allows the forest frog to survive some of the harshest winters on the planet. It is due to a high concentration of glucose in their organs and tissues, which acts as a natural antifreeze and protects their bodies from damage and death. Scientists are studying this species with great interest as it could provide new ideas for organ preservation in transplant medicine. So, the Alaska frog could bring humanity closer to revolutionary discoveries in the field of medicine. In the Siberian community of Yukagir, a magnificent specimen from the Ice Age was found, a steppe bison frozen in time. In 2011, the mummified remains of this prehistoric creature were discovered, preserving soft tissues, fur, and internal organs in the ice. It was a very rare find. Steppe bisons, also known as prairie bisons, inhabited the Earth during a period that lasted from 2 million to 800,000 years ago. They were stronger and larger than modern bisons, and this exceptionally well-preserved Yukagir bison allowed the study of the physiology of an animal that disappeared thousands of years ago. Information could be obtained not only about its final moments, but even about its last meal, which remained in its stomach. This gives us a glimpse into the environment of that time, including food chains and ecosystem details. In the snowy deserts of eastern Siberia, another major thaw occurred. In 2015, a local hunter discovered another ancient creature, a hairy rhinoceros. The rhinoceros, named Sasha in honor of the finder, was likely over 30,000 years old. The hairy rhinoceros was an extinct species from the Ice Age that adapted to survive in the cold with its dense and long fur, as well as its 2 horns on its snout. It was a fearsome beast of its time. Sasha, found in nearly perfect and complete condition, became the best preserved specimen of its kind. The study of the rhinoceros's DNA advanced the understanding of the genetics of the hairy rhinoceros species and established its relationship with modern species. In the depths of Siberia's permafrost, a prehistoric discovery was made: a mammoth. Is it an enormous hairy elephant or hippopotamus, you may wonder? It is a representative of a species that became extinct about 4,000 years ago, and its body was perfectly preserved in the ice, as if in a freezer. It was named Yuka. The body was discovered by tusk hunters in 2010, in the region near the coast of the Laptov Sea. Yuka, a female, became an extraordinary find due to her excellent state of preservation. Her skin, hair, and even traces of blood were in excellent condition, providing scientists with an unprecedented opportunity to learn a great deal about her life during that time. The skin turned out to be a pale pink color, indicating that Yuka was in her teenage years and lived on our planet approximately 39,000 years ago. Scratches and bite marks on her body speak of her survival story in the harsh conditions of an icy continent. Paleontologists suggest that she was attacked by predators, possibly lions or wolves, and the cause of the baby mammoth's death was a fall into a natural trap, such as a crevice or hole. There, she simply froze, remaining preserved for thousands of years. The cold temperatures and glaciers of mountainous regions have preserved artifacts from the times when our closest extinct relatives, the Neanderthals, inhabited the Earth. Among these finds are knives and needles carved from stone or bone, providing us with a glimpse into the lives and survival methods of these early humans. Neanderthal tools are primarily found in European regions, but the discovery of such tools in high mountains was a real surprise. One of these locations is the Italian Alps, where ice and cold have preserved these objects for at least 40,000 years. Tools such as scrapers and spears indicate a greater adaptability and ingenuity of the Neanderthals than previously believed. They were able to survive and hunt in severe mountainous climates, and their skills in knowledge and inventiveness proved to be above average. Their creations were skillful and complex, showcasing advanced problem-solving abilities and a deep understanding of their environment and available materials. Moreover, through these tools, a real connection to our own past can be traced. Neanderthals are our ancestors, representing a period in human evolution where survival directly depended on the ability to skillfully interact with the environment. Encased in ice, these tools are silent witnesses of challenging times and can recreate images of the trials endured by the Neanderthals. In 1991, a frozen human body was discovered in the Italian Alps, undoubtedly an unusual find for tourists. The remains of this individual, who lived during the Copper Age, were approximately 5,000 years old. He was named Ötzi after the region, the Ötztal Alps. Scientists were able to obtain a wealth of information about human life in prehistoric times from this mummy. Ötzi's body, clothing, and tools were exceptionally well preserved, allowing for details about his diet, health condition, occupation, and even the cause and circumstances of his death to be established. The tattoos on his body are the oldest in human history, and the body itself is a gift from the time machine, as looking at Ötzi, we can instantly transport ourselves to our distant past and imagine how we might have faced those challenges. This mannequin was created at the foot of a snowy and steep mountain, which people always try to climb. The goal is to make people understand in advance that climbing a mountain is a very dangerous activity that is prohibited for unprepared and inexperienced individuals. In 1993, archaeologists made an incredible discovery in a mountainous region of Altai. They investigated a tomb and found the frozen remains of a young woman. She belonged to the Pazyryk culture, which inhabited the border area between Mongolia, Russia, and Kazakhstan about 2,300 years ago, and was buried with numerous valuable objects. Among them were a mirror, a wooden comb, and a headdress made of fabric and wood. Her body was adorned with intricate tattoos of mythological creatures, indicating her high social status. Through this mummy, we can get an idea of what the ancient Pazyryk culture was like. In 1999, on the summit of the Llullayaco volcano, which separates Argentina and Chile in the Andes mountain range, something astonishing was discovered. 3 Inca mummies, including a young girl named La Doncella and 2 other children. The mummies, which had been frozen in ice for at least 500 years, were in an exceptional state of preservation. There was even frozen blood in one of their hearts. The girl was around 15 years old at the time of her death, and her clothing, jewelry, and personal belongings were completely preserved alongside her. This was not an accident or a common burial, but rather a sacrifice, a cruel ritual of the Incas. Sir John Franklin's ill-fated expedition, undertaken in 1845 with the goal of exploring the Arctic and finding the Northwest Passage through the Arctic Ocean, ended in tragedy. Both sailing ships, the Erebus and the Terror, became trapped in the Arctic ice, and the entire crew of 129 people disappeared along with the vessels. They left us with one of the most enigmatic mysteries in the history of maritime exploration. More than a century and a half later, in 2014 and 2016, the wreckage was found in Arctic waters off Canada. Both ships were remarkably well preserved, with equipment and artifacts literally frozen in time. What remained revealed the final moments of the ship's lives and the trials faced by their crews. Part of the historical puzzle was solved, but many questions remain unanswered. The P-38 was an American single-seat fighter aircraft used during World War II. In 1942, a squadron of 6 aircraft of this type and 2 B-17 bombers were forced to make an emergency landing on an ice cap in Greenland due to harsh weather conditions. The planes, abandoned by their crews, were practically buried under the ice and snow, forgotten for decades. In 1988, a group of aviation enthusiasts embarked on a mission to search for these lost planes, known as the Lost Squadron. Using ground-based radar equipment and other modern technologies, they managed to discover the planes at a depth of 250 feet beneath the ice, which helped deepen the understanding of the construction of this model and the conditions in which it operated during World War II. This aircraft became a significant figure in aviation history, symbolizing the progress and sacrifice of an entire military era. The reason why the ice around the abandoned plane accumulated so rapidly, burying it for decades, is yet to be discovered. The answer to this enigma will soon be revealed. The devastating catastrophe of World War II left its mark in every corner of Europe, including the snowy alpine peaks. Over the years, as the glaciers melt, grim witnesses of history have been revealed. The frozen remains of soldiers are the result of the fateful operation Attack on Vemork, when an attempt was made to destroy a Nazi heavy water factory, a component of the atomic bomb in Norway in 1943. Treacherous natural conditions and deceptive terrain caused numerous casualties, with many soldiers disappearing in the cold mountains. As global warming has caused the glaciers to melt, more and more of these remains have been found. Each of these discoveries is a forgotten chapter in military history, shedding light on what they had to endure. The objects found alongside the remains, such as letters, watches, and even food, personalize each soldier as a human being first and foremost. Each one had their own hopes, fears, and loved ones waiting for them at home. These findings also provide answers to the frozen-in-time questions of families who never received news of their loved ones after the war, decades without any information about their fate. These frozen soldiers in the Alps are nothing but a reminder of the immense human sacrifices in this terrible war, and the ice sarcophagus that has carefully preserved them is a witness that does not forgive global evil. So those were incredible findings discovered in the ice. If you enjoyed the episode and would like to see something similar, let us know in the comments and be sure to give the video a like. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.